Welcome to our next adventure with Chemology 411, a podcast about anything and everything. Kim and her guests will take you behind the scenes, behind the story, or behind the bar. So sit back. Make sure your seatbelt is fastened, tray table in its upright position, all carry-ons stored under the seats. But for this adventure, electronic devices must remain on, as we are ready to take off on our next adventure. Introducing Kim Schultz and Chemology 411.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 29. We are so excited to be here today. And our main topic, we're going to talk about our high school days. That ought to be pretty interesting. I'm Kim Schultz, and I'm your adventure coordinator for this show. Let's say hi to my co-host, Tyson Harley.
Hey, guess what I'm doing? I'm just feathering my hair over here.
Yes.
With my middle part. That's based on our subject. Anything that's happening right now is an accident. Because of the long hair thing of the situation that we're in. Anyway, it's great to finally see your bright, shiny face.
Oh, my gosh.
It's been 3 weeks or whatever. So we're trying to do the 6 foot rule. Let's see if we can touch our fit.
No, we're good.
I think we're 6 foot away. And is it off to... We still haven't done the production.
You had one job.
Yeah.
One job.
Hey! Oh, I don't know why. I suddenly had to do a Foley live like I actually had to do an authentic fist hit. Tyson, quick hit number 1. It is, my sister is so funny. So... For some reason, I don't know why she does this, but she puts up pictures of her feet, and so she throws an IM at me, and she's got these little toe separator socks. I just laughed and laughed. Anyway, she likes to draw little faces on her toes. So she's been, I don't know, kind of interested in the idea that your toes stay too close together. I don't know. I've had these things before where they're these little... rubber deals that you put over your toes, and it does kind of separate. It does kind of feel good. She bought some socks that separate her toes. So I told her apparently her toes are also engaging in social distancing. I don't know. Quick hit number 2. I saw something interesting. It's by the time it comes out, this podcast comes out, it will already be over. But for what it's worth, I'm thinking about, and I'll tell you, there's a mass meditation and kind of a free, if you will, I think the idea is kind of a seminar and then mass meditation. I saw this just the other day. I might do it. And again, when people listen, it'll be too late for them to listen. But it's for you, Kim. It was called Edge of Wonder and Portal to Ascension with Awakening Humanity and the Edge of Wonder. Anyway, open forum navigation of the spiritual awakening in a global pandemic, and that starts 10 a.m. tomorrow, but that's Pacific time, so that's noon here. And anyway, it'll be like a free Zoom if you join. Oh. So, I'm a spirit, mind, body, fear type person, so
Me
unfortunately
too.
It's just, and it seems like they got a bunch of guests listed, so it might be that this person talks for 10 minutes or 20, so it might be going on for a while. But look that up, and I'm thinking about doing it, but on the other hand, I'm not sure how I could because I've got work. So maybe I could just put it on the background.
Right.
Since that's the time I'm working from home. I work right now half-time from home. So since I'm not bothering anybody else, I could just maybe put it in the background and let it play. All right, quick hit number 3. Okay, now what got, many things have been prohibited since the last few weeks,
goodness.
but one is our very popular dog park. Now, Topeka is also home to Hill's Pet Nutrition Corporate, or at least one of their major places, and I'm not sure if it's corporate, maybe it's just the science area.
It's pretty big. They've got a compound here.
Yeah, and they sponsor the Bark Park in the nearby park, and it's been closed. Well, on the way here... I'm not going to say where in case the authorities are listening.
Yes, shh.
But people will exercise their freedom when they can. Mm-hmm. And so there's a Bark Park. There's a place that someone is using for Bark Park.
So they have like an underground bark park going on right now.
Oh yeah, one thing about you know the first rule
Of Bark Park?
Bark Park.
You don't talk about
You don't bark about Bark Park.
You don't bark about Bark Park. Oh, Lord.
Quick hit number whatever we are at. Okay, so this is weird. This is weird. I realized today I haven't kissed my boss since this whole thing started.
Really? That's horrible. You haven't even hugged her or anything?
I haven't kissed her since this whole thing started. Now, why am I saying that? Because the way you say things can be misleading.
Right.
And only for the purposes of our usual exercise of looking at things that can be misleading, this happens to be a COVID deal. So I was on something the other day and I said to Kim, I wonder if this is true. This seems weird. Well, someone took a picture of, it was in Michigan and you couldn't buy a flag. But the headline was Michigan governor, who's a woman, it prohibits purchases of flags. Well, not exactly. I mean, she does have a more prohibitive stance on non-essential goods.
Right.
And that's really what it was. Now it is true that you can't buy flags. So when they took that picture, in a way it's true, but it's not like she sat there and said, no flag purchases. So I just thought I would bring that up. But then along that, and what hers said was, if you're not buying food, medicine, and other essential items, you should not be going to the store. Big box retailers such as Walmart were ordered to shutter entire sections of their stores. Like you said, might happen here, but hasn't happened yet. Such as furniture, carpeting, plant nurseries, paint, and garden centers beginning on April 10th. Now, Vermont has a similar thing, and they have even, at one point, it seemed that you couldn't get seeds. You've probably seen the picture where, like,
right.
the seeds, they're right there. And if there's any time, especially now they're scaring us about the food supply, which is another topic we won't get into. If there's any time it's like, maybe it's a good time to start considering that whole garden thing. I know it won't be there for, a couple months, but maybe this is the reason people start turning some of their yard into a garden. So why not be able to buy seeds? Well, because it's a non-essential area. It's not that you can't buy them per se, but actually you can't. So from the Vermont Agency of Ag, that thing went around, and that picture of it being just out of reach, even though they're right there, you can't get them. And they have this very similar thing about no non-essential purchasing at the store. Now, this is strange, and it's the only other social phenomena I'll talk about and editorialize on for this. Now, they came out with a clarification after that picture posted, and I found the clarification interesting. They said, recent pictures, this is the Vermont Agency of Agriculture. That's not the name, but it is the agency that's the agricultural agency. Recent pictures circulating on social media appear to be from a box store, which has roped off access to, quote, non-essential areas of the store per guidance from ACCD. So whatever that is, it's some kind of an economic... anyway, with various seed packets behind the roped-off sections. As stated above, agricultural seeds have been deemed, quote, essential in Vermont per the governor's executive order. However, a homeowner's access to seeds has been modified to meet the governor's executive order. So it's essential, but you can't just go buy them. We're hoping that retailers and consumers alike restrict in-person shopping to items that need to be purchased in person and are of a time-sensitive nature. While the state recognizes the importance of gardening as a source of food for many Vermonters, the ability to browse for seeds and purchase them in person doesn't outweigh the risk of spreading the virus. And I would say BS is not 90% of people getting it.
Right.
But regardless, says retailers can continue to make seeds available online, delivery, and curbside. Now, this is my only social commentary on this.
Okay.
What about those stores that aren't ready to do that?
Yeah, what about the mom and pa's that this is their bread and butter?
There's no online ordering.
Yeah.
They just think someone can come in. Things are simple. They never tried to work any big third-party contractor that can have a portal made for them. So anyway, to me, they're the ones that are getting the shaft because of that.
Right.
They could still do it. They could try to be flexible, but it's like, well, you can do curbside and delivery.
So
it's like, are we ready
to,
to your point, are we ready to have delivery insurance? That type of thing. So.
Well, and like Joann's today, they closed Joann's down, which is a fabric store. It's a chain. And My daughter sews.
That's where people will
and
be
that's
getting
where
their
people
masks
will be getting
made.
all their stuff. Correct, but they close it because it's non-essential. And then just the other day, they opened it for online ordering. And then we went today. They sent an email. This is just funny. They sent an email to my daughter that her stuff was ready. So she goes up to the door because in the email it says, "Go to the first register person and they will get you your order." But when you go up to the door, it says, you must call Joann's to let them know that you're outside, park in one of the front parking stalls, have your back trunk open, and they will bring it out. Do you know what was not on that sign?
What?
A phone number to call. How dumb is that? So my daughter's frustrated. She says a curse word, turns around. There's a lady with her kids there. And she's like, "I am so sorry." Like, she apologized because Joann's is so mean to her anyway. But the girl comes walking out with her gloves and her mask on with the packages. She put it in the back of my car, closed the back of my car, and we took off.
I'd like to point out that, I don't know if it was last week that I put up the transcription from the NYC doctor on the Tyson page. But go check that out if so, because it's really good. I don't mean to spend too much time on this. Next quick hit, bam, bam! A week or 2 or 3 or 4 ago, I mentioned a very interesting woman named Dorothy Kilgallen. And I said, you should look into her more. And she's very interesting, a reporter, a big-time influential person in the 50s and 60s, and had ties to all kinds of things. She was on Whose Line? What is it? What's Your Line? Oh. And also had her own radio show from a 5-story penthouse apartment in like Manhattan, and all kinds of things. And a major opinion leader back in the day, even though she is a woman. So really one of those trailblazers.
Right.
In any time of history, there's always been some very strong women. Always. But she was one of them. So one thing I wanted to mention about Dorothy Kilgallen, and also she has an interesting tie to JFK, because she was going to write a book about, she didn't really believe the assassination. That's what we mentioned in another quick hit. Anyway, to the point of her being interesting, she and Frank Sinatra had a feud. Like, they knew each other for a while. You can go find a picture where he's kind of crouching down and taking a, like, both of them are smiling picture. And remember I said she was on that game show for a while. She's very well known. But then they had a feud because she did in her column, she talked about his mob ties. He didn't like that.
First thing about mob, we don't talk about mob.
Yeah. And so he started calling her the chinless one.
Oh.
And anyway, she had something really good that was a comeback, but I can't think of what it was at the time. So yeah, she reported on his history, and he didn't like that. And this is the type of thing she would say in her column. A few of Sinatra's women, like Ava and Lana, were public idols themselves and priceless examples of feminine beauty. Many more, of course, have been fluffy little struggling dolls of show business, pretty and small-waisted and similar under the standard layer of peach-colored pancake makeup. They are starlets who never got past first base in Hollywood, assorted models and vocalists, and chorus girls now lost in the ghost of floor shows past. Others belonged in the classification most gently described as tawdry. So anyway, very interesting woman. Thought I would bring her that up again. We had said that we might like get ideas of future shows,
right,
and we're creating a document for that. We always kind of have them, but just maybe more systematically. Maybe we'll do something on Dorothy. But yeah, super interesting woman that I'm pretty fascinated by. That's that quick hit. I have no idea what one we're on. And that was a quick slap. I don't know what was going on there. And the next quick hit is that we now have new improved show descriptions.
Woo!
Now with improved show descriptions.
It took about a half a year.
I've spent some time and improved some of them recently where there's a more full outline, which I believe can be helpful both for, maybe deciding you only want to listen to part of it or which parts you might want to skip, or if you just want to go find your favorite parts. So, maybe you go, this is an hour and 20. Imagine that. And I only plan on being on the treadmill for 30 minutes. Which 30 minutes do I listen to? So yes, now with improved show descriptions. And that's it for Quick Hits with Tyson Harley.
Good Lord. All right, well, first of all, I want to apologize. Still asthma. I still have about another month left of not being able to talk and not cough and breathe right. So I'm pretty excited about that. I did get some new vitamins. I got some Zicam and I got some new vitamin C. I take a whole vitamin regimen every day, but I'm adding a few just to up a little bit. So that's pretty good. So this past weekend was Easter, which is really weird to me because I always go to my friend's house on Easter and he cooks something lamb and there's about 10 or 12 of us and we have some drinks and have dinner. Excuse me. And this year I was at home. My daughter came over. She snarfed some food down. I made a turkey on Saturday and she came over on Sunday and I cooked the full turkey dinner. I didn't have to buy anything at the grocery store. I had it all. I had yams. I had potatoes. I made gravy. I had stuffing. We had cranberry sauce. I had it all in my cabinet because I buy when things are on sale. So I made a big dinner and then she took it out to my mom's house. So that was my Easter. I watched a lot of TV and I put deposits in for some of my clients. So.
In recognition of Easter, I went to sleep and then I rose again.
Oh, and then, oh yeah.
And after the third nap, I rose again. Seriously, I just thought of that, but I told you I slept a lot that day.
You were like...
Like, I got up, I took a nap.
Yeah.
And then I said I took another nap, so I rose again after the third time. And then I'm like, oh yeah, Easter, I should probably go do something with my sister. So we had Applebee's curbside, baby.
Nice.
And actually, it's pretty good. You know,
yeah, I like Applebee's.
I can't remember what I got right now, but I liked it. I usually like their salads that have a lot of meat in it. So
I like the Oriental chicken salad there. That's so
might have been
good.
what I had.
Oh my gosh, it's got that yellowish, real
I had
Italian
one.
dressing.
No, it wasn't Oriental. It was one of the others.
Oh,
but
so
that
good.
was I was deciding between that and the Oriental.
That's good stuff. Yeah. So, well, and we don't have little ones, so and church, that was a big deal. Whether people could go to church or not go to church, and you know, I don't go to church personally, and I was very upset, and you'll listen to it on my clips when I release them later about how upset I was about people kept saying church is just a building. And we'll talk about that on another time because it's not just a building, it's a family. There's a lot more to church than just going to a building. And the people who were saying that, I thought it was disrespectful to the people who really, really, truly live their life with God and their church family and need that in their life.
They need their
But
community.
yet it's okay, you know, like as long as I'm safe, you know, and you're going to get, anyway, that just brought my whole Easter down. That's why I think I don't remember.
Well, what happened is that there was something fairly late in the week, you know better than me, where one of the committees for the Kansas legislature said, hey, that order by the governor does not disallow Easter festivities. This is coming up. They want to make a point or a political point, whatever you want to call it. And then by the end of the week, the governor had
changed her mind.
Started a suit and asked for the Kansas Supreme Court to decide on it quickly because of Easter. And that ruling came down Saturday night before Easter.
So that,
and it wasn't so much that they couldn't stop her, the legislature. It was more that the way they wrote it, it couldn't stop her. Maybe had they written it differently, it could have stopped her from supposedly restricting the Easter and church festivities.
Yeah, well, that was actually the Kansas Supreme Court's very first Zoom meeting. Did you have a chance to watch that?
I did not.
So I watched like the first 10 or 12 minutes of it. It was kind of confusing to me because Zoom kind of gets confusing. I don't know who any of these people are, so they're talking, and I'm like, is he for her or against her? Like, I can't tell who is trying to fight for it and against it because we have a committee called the LCC, which is a small group of elected officials. And she had when she made her first order, she had taken churches out of it. And then when it got closer to Easter, she came in and said, churches are included, and then
in restricted.
yeah,
when you say
restricted,
included in the
included in the restricted group, and then that's when the LCC said you can't do that. So more than likely, somebody behind the scenes was like, you can't include churches. So she was like, I won't include churches. And then like 4 people in a church gathering got corona. 2 of them died in Kansas. So now no churches because of it. It's going to spread everywhere.
Right.
And so the Supreme Court met, and it was actually pretty cool because they're all in their houses and you got to see them all. But it was.
Have you seen the Supreme Court building? They couldn't have social distance. Of course, those people are probably older.
I think because of the amount. You can only have 10 people. And so when you have all the judicial people and then the people, all the lawyers and then the camera crew, and you'd have more than 10 people.
Isn't that funny? Like, I mean, there's more than 10 people in Walmart. So they couldn't have social distance in a large room?
They just didn't want to go into work on a Saturday. I don't know.
Good point.
It was not a work
day.
So
you're right. So. It did affect Easter a little bit. I was pretty upset by it as a libertarian at first. Like, really? You got to do this on a Saturday night? Can't even wait till the weekday. But then I heard more details.
Right.
And I was like, well, sometimes cases, to your point, get ruled on by there is no technicality in law. People think, well, that was just a technicality. No, a lot of times that's the question.
Right.
And so they ruled very narrowly. They didn't rule in favor of the governor prohibiting churches.
Right. They were.
It's more that
what they were doing.
They ruled on a procedural. So you guys have probably had things like that as well. But that's our latest that affected Easter anyway.
Easter.
My Easter. Well, I told you that was it. I haven't had any Cadbury cream eggs this year. It was probably better for people in chocolate.
Well, they were on sale. 2 buy 2 get 1 free, then half price. So those are cheap at Dillon's. I walked right by them. I didn't even get my jelly beans this year.
Yeah, I eat too much candy on Easter usually anyway, so it was good for me.
I ate 0.
We went and watched some Netflix. So I introduced her to Altered Carbon, one of my favorite shows, and the season 1 especially. Season 2 has come out, and the guy Anthony Mackie. He plays either, and it's not because I'm mixing up my black people. I know what he looks like in his name, but it's one of the sidekicks on either Iron Man or one of the other Marvel movies. I just don't watch movies over and over again. But like the main character, and he's got his buddy who was in the military, and he ends up getting some gear instead of the coolest thing, and he helps him out. So anyway, he's in the 2nd season of Altered Carbon. But this is the first, and I just started watching that. I don't know if I'm into it as much, but season 1 was one of my very favorites. So I kind of introduced my sister to that, and so we got the curbside, went up to her place, and watched Altered Carbon for a couple episodes, and chilled out otherwise. So Easter was fine, but it still felt weird for Easter.
Yeah, it was weird to me because I didn't get to do what I was supposed to do. Plus, I started watching The Handmaid's Tale.
You told me about that, and I had no sense. I had no sense. What did I tell you? I thought it was probably some 19th century period piece with corsets. With corset.
Yeah,
corsets.
No. And
so that's very good. Huh?
Yeah, I kind of binged that, but I wasn't really watching it because I was doing deposits and I was working at the same time.
See, if it's new, I want to watch it.
I didn't want to watch this part. I didn't want to, to get through the first 4 to set up the show was brutal for me. It was just like, oh my gosh, he's going to rape her. And now they're going to do this again. This is horrible. Okay, we need to get to something that's more positive. So me not watching it, I could listen to it. You didn't need to watch. It's kind of graphic.
Altered Carbon is dystopian too.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a mix of Blade Runner and AI and also season 1 is a real whodunit, like a true whodunit. Right. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, today I watched Knives Out, which is just a movie that was just released. And so I sat and watched that one, like with my daughter today.
Was that good? People said
yes, it was so fun. It was good. So anyway, I got my stimulus check today.
Did you feel stimulated?
Oh yeah, I was like, oh girl, I am so rich.
You ever want me to feel stimulated? Just give me $1,200.
I've never got $1,200 to be stimulated before.
I've never felt more like a Southern Belle than when I got $1,200 to be stimulated.
My friend
Supposedly mine is probably in, because apparently a lot of people got it in the bank today, because you just said you did, and my sister said she did, and my mother said she did. So if I go look in my account, it's probably there, but...
It's meant to go out and spend money, and my friend that works at Sam's goes, "Thank you, government. Our TVs are almost sold out." And what did I tell you? Everybody's going to go out and take the stimulus money and go buy things, and then what's going to happen is they're going to realize, oh, crap. This happened, and now I don't have a job, and if this continues to go on, that money, that's supposed to not buy you precious fun things. It was supposed to help you pay your utilities and do that kind of stuff. So that's why mine goes into savings, and then at the end of the year when they go, we're going to need that back, I'm going to go like, and here you go. Because I it's not something that... I just don't have.
Don't worry about that. Just go find the historical last time they actually worked the deficit down to zero in a given year.
Well, yeah, and then they released, if this keeps going on, we might pay everybody $2,000 a month that are staying. And I'm like, where is this money coming from? When did we become rich?
The banksters.
No, we're not going to have it.
Made up money.
But I did have to say that my daughter was like, "Hey, Mom, Friday's going to be a really nice night out."
Oh yeah, this is awesome. I saw this on social media.
So why don't we sit around the fire? And I was like, "Oh, you want to cook hot dogs?"
Fire pit, baby. So
we started the fire pit, and my mom and my brother came over, and we all stayed apart from each other, but family. And we've all been quarantined anyway because we're all stuck in our houses. So we had potato salad, coleslaw. We had s'mores, and Max brought over these marshmallows. They're strawberry,
potato salad, what,
and coleslaw, baked beans. It was good. But Max brought over, a bag of marshmallows that had strawberry and white marshmallows in it. Have you ever had a s'more?
I've never done
strawberry
a s'more
marshmallow. Oh my gosh, strawberry and chocolate.
Haven't done that. No.
Okay, that was to die for. I ate two of those.
S'mores, though.
And that made
some of my favorite memories is when we camped a lot as a kid, and then we moved and we didn't camp as much because a lot of that kind of depends on what the friend situation is for your parents. Like, do they got camping friends? So we had a pop up, and one place where we lived, with a fold out beds at the end and all that. We had some camping friends, and the next place we moved, they never really cultivated camping friends. But yeah, I love those times. I love s'mores.
Oh yeah, so do I. So I think the fire was really just to have s'mores, and then the hot dogs were just kind of added later, for her. So that was awesome. We went out at like 5:00. Started. It was still nice out, like sweatshirt weather. And I think we were out there till like 8. Like just sat around the fire, put a big old log on, and then it started getting dark, and then everybody was just kind of like, and we're done. So.
Yeah, it was darker a little bit quicker for you because you wouldn't be getting the sun in your backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
So I was getting there. And then Saturday, I got a 5-mile walk in.
5 miles? Mm-hmm. See, now around here, I also have been doing pretty good walks, but I didn't do one yesterday. Actually, I walked stairs yesterday, but today I didn't get one in. But yeah, I got a decent amount on Saturday and barely beat a pretty good thunderstorm in. And we ended up getting hail around here, but I didn't see it where I was. Like, I saw some smaller hail, but there was some big hail.
Yeah, I got it.
You got some big, because I saw, so many people, so when you mentioned hot to hail, a lot of people showed the size of their hail.
Yeah.
And it was a little short. I mean, I should say not a little short, but up towards the size of golf balls in some places.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if any of that hit town because I wasn't in town when that hit.
Yeah, I don't think we got that, but mine was like more bigger than pea size.
That's what I feel like was hitting me.
It sounded like it hit my roof hard. I'm going to have someone come take a look at it.
Yeesh.
With all this wind that's been going on, my Dillons, I think the whole the whole roof has been blown off. I don't know if you've even noticed the whole deli was covered in plastic today because they're redoing the roof. You? Yeah, no, on Fairlawn.
Oh no, I did not notice that.
Yeah, because you couldn't even go down the chip aisle the other day. The last time we were there, not this Wednesday, but the Wednesday before, and it was all cut off. And I'm like, "How do I get my chips?" And the guy was like, "Look up there, you can see the sun." And I was like, oh, they're replacing. He goes, yeah, the storm messed up the thing. He goes, but you can go in there. So he went in with me and kind of was watching, and then I got my chips and got out of there.
Like he's gonna protect you if something falls. He's
right.
gonna jump.
Yeah, he's gonna tackle me and land on top of me so that he can let the debris fall on him.
Secret Service guy, talking to his wrist or something.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, high school years. Let's talk about some high school years. I love my high school years. Till my senior year, that kind of got screwed up, but my high school years. So, tell me what did you do in high school? Well, let me just guess. Let me guess.
Oh boy.
Let me see here. What did Tyson do in high school? I bet you were in advanced classes. I bet you took classes that were like I don't know if we had AP back then, but if it was like not required, you probably took it.
Am I waiting to answer? Yeah, let's just go ahead. I'll give you the reveal afterwards.
I would have to say, I would probably think that you would have done theater, at least some kind of theater, and track. That's what I look, because you love to run, so I could see you doing track and theater, because you like theater. Those are the two things that you like to do.
Okay.
I don't think you'd be a cheerleader. Yell leader, whatever that is.
Oh.
A yell leader. Let's see here.
Have you heard my voice? I'm like outside voice all the time, accidentally.
Exactly. Me too.
Anyway, anything else? Guesses?
I would have to say, I don't know. Did you have FBLA at your school? Future Business Leaders of America?
No.
I don't know. I gotta think about it. What else? So theater and track and all of the smart people classes. I don't think you would be a wrestler. I'm not exactly sure if you'd be a wrestler. I mean, you're probably have the body type to be, but I'm not sure.
Okay. What else? Anything?
No, I don't. I wouldn't know what else there was.
Okay, advanced classes. I lived in a small town, both places, so I didn't go wimp out. In fact, one of my parents' irritations was in my senior year when someone might have potentially beat me out for top 10 in the class, which wasn't very many because we only had 40 people, by taking wimpy classes. So they weren't happy with that. But I never would take wimpy classes on purpose, but I never really planned. So, I kept going with the math classes and stuff.
Me too.
There was a lot more basic, fundamental classes. In a small town back then, you did not, really specialize. I mean, I guess, like I said, you could have taken more VOAG-type classes. I took more just plain academic classes. I didn't put a lot of thought into it. I just took the next classes. So, advanced classes, yay and nay, but yes, I was absolutely the math nerd going, teacher, I'm not sure that's correct. Anyway, so advanced classes, you're not right, but you're also not wrong, just because we didn't have advanced classes per se.
But you would have if they were there.
We didn't have advanced placement, and you couldn't graduate early, which I think is the biggest garbage ever. It's like, well, not graduate early, but wait a second, so you can graduate high school by taking harder classes and have college courses. I never thought that. It's like, well, the thing is, though, you're still a high school student. Thus, you only get a high school diploma. So I've never... And we couldn't go above 4.0, which is another piece of garbage.
Yeah, me
But
neither.
anyway, so theater, absolutely yes. You are correct. Had a couple leads, but not a lot. We only have 2 shows a year. Only 2. So I was in Diary of Anne Frank. I played Peter. One time I played, who was the brother of Anne Frank, and I was also played an attorney in one where it was like pick your own ending kind of a thing, which is kind of fun because they had the jury come in at the end. So it was a class, the night of January 16th. And I can't remember if I was a defense attorney or not. Some other stuff. But track, yes, you are correct. Always a little bit meek and probably didn't run as much as I should have. Run as hard as I should have, but I was okay, and I was decent in track. That's probably my best one. Yell leader, we didn't have such a thing for guys, only cheerleaders. but not a big enough school. And wrestler, I grew up in Iowa, where in parts of it it's big, but in other part, but not 100%. In northern Iowa, wrestling is not big, and you don't even have it. Plus, it was a smaller school. So basically, if nearly everybody had to go out for everything, you wouldn't have those things. So most people are in multiple activities. So yeah, I was in wrestling, but not until I moved to Southwest Iowa. To your point, it's great because any body size can do it, but those were kids that have been wrestling since they were 5, and I probably let myself get intimidated. So I wrestled with some guys who were like, state champs. And the thing about wrestling is that you talk about hard workouts. Those are like the hardest workouts, like just sweating all over the place, sweating all over the mat. So that's probably where I got some of my taste for really tough workouts. But like you said, I was a runner too. So I really liked running and ran the most. Run, Forrest, run! Ran the most of anybody when we had this summer challenge. So I ran twice as far as anybody else did. It was so I did the 1,000-mile challenge instead of.
So 500. You've always been an overachiever.
No, not really. Just kind of, naturally smart, but never someone who just insisted on A's and just geeked out about it. But. But very participatory because the school was small. And the other thing, I was in band, and I played
I forgot about band.
Band, but it was weird because during parts of the year I was in football too. So I was
you were the one that had to have your uniform on to come out for senior night?
No, that's the thing, because it was just so weird. I don't remember how we did that. Honestly, that would be embarrassing. I don't even know if we did senior night. I guess we did, but if so, I put it out of my mind because our football team was bad. Anyway, so until football season ended, we weren't in band. Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
But instead, at the beginning of the year, I don't know how they do it in Kansas, but where I was in Iowa, at the beginning of the year, you'd be rehearsing to try to make the all-state choir or all-state band. I was all-state choir. We would get in there early in the morning, so we'd rehearse because it was auditioning in quartets. So I did all-state choir, and it's kind of arbitrary because you have to kind of mix with the rest of your quartet. Right. So if the rest of your quartet isn't great and you're trying to mix with them and not really stand out, it's this weird balance. Anyway, one year I made it, but I think it was the same year, all-state choir. I think it was the same year when someone else in my quartet made it. But then my senior year, I didn't make it. So I think it's kind of the strength of the quartet.
I got a story about junior, senior. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we didn't really do solos so much. We didn't, but instead we did do all-state choir. So yeah, I did a lot of different things in high school, and some parts of the year I'd get there early and would come back for dinner and then be back for theater at night, and finally be done at 7:30 or 8 at night or something, or 10. So just very busy,
right?
And I never had a job during high school except summer jobs. I lived in a tiny town, so there weren't a lot of jobs left unless you commuted.
Girlfriend?
But I baled hay. I love baling hay, and what you call it is walk. You'd walk beans, and that just mean you'd have a hoe with you.
Oh,
come on, hoe! Let's go. So anyway, no, a manual hoe is before they have these little rigs. Well, they had both of them, but some farmers would do one, some would do the other. So instead of having rigs with herbicide, and you'd be up on a mount above the crops, and you'd spray them. Go, oh, there's a weed. There's a weed. You would walk the beans, and you'd have depending on how weedy it was, you'd have 4 or 6 or 8 rows, 2 or 3 or 4 to the side of you. You'd just be walking and looking. When you saw one, you'd go over and go chop, and then you just keep walking. Once you get to the end, you'd turn back around. One year, I was considered responsible enough, or boring enough, or whatever. I walked, because usually you'd walk beans, but you'd have your buddies, right? So you'd just be it's a nice day, you're making a little extra money, because it's during the summer. And there might be 4 or 5 or 6 people on the crew, so you'd be covering 20 or 25 rows each going up and down. This is Iowa, so there were some big fields, but by myself, and then you'd be chatting with them a lot. You just chat away and chunk, and then you keep going, and then help out if they had some especially weedy area. But one year it was just me.
Oh my
And I
god.
actually, speaking of introvert, I really liked that. Just like my own pace. I was gonna do it.
Did
so
you
I'd
have
go.
like music or anything that you could listen to?
I mean,
You're
I could.
singing or
Nah, I just nice Iowa summer. I mean, Iowa still has a summer. It's just not as long, and during parts of it, it's not as hot. So just a nice Iowa summer. So I like baling hay. That was really fun. I mean, you'd get like this hay stuff in your nose, and at the end, you'd have like basically black snot.
right, you
I
blow
don't know
it
if
out.
you've ever, but you could bale straw or you could bale hay.
Mm-hmm.
And straw was, gosh, I'm trying to remember. I think straw was lighter, but then you'd wonder, oh gosh, I hope these bales aren't wet, because if it was
Right.
wet, they'd hold so much more. This is before the big round auto balers
Right.
that are like
Yeah.
8 foot tall or whatever were prominent. So you'd still have to go grab them. It'd make the bale, but someone had to go grab them and put them up onto the deal, and then onto the trailer, and then someone would have to work it from the trailer to the little elevator that made it up to the barn, the top of the loft, and then someone would have to work it from the barn. So you'd be up there, like as a kid when you go visit your farm friends. It was cool if they had a hayloft, because it's like this big giant attic with
My grandpa had one.
Yeah, with these bales stacked in all
Yep.
kinds. Like you'd like go up on the little mountain inside the.
And now you're like,
haystack.
there's snakes and rats or
Oh, yeah, I
snakes
wouldn't
and
think it-
mice, and yeah, you didn't think about that. You're just up there
you're just up there
playing.
because you could fall and fall into hay and it'd be okay and just kind of run around up there. That was great fun as a kid. But then later on, so I did that type of stuff. But I don't know what I didn't do. I didn't party. But as far as any social
Girlfriend?
I had girlfriends, yeah. I mean, I had girlfriends for sure. I was semi-popular, but I wasn't a partier. So in the summer, people didn't see me because I'm an introvert and I didn't try to go party. So I really
Right.
didn't have any social life in the summer except for just people I knew right in town.
Right.
And I'm talking, my town was so small. No, when I was a runner, the second town I lived in was so small. The biggest outside loop I could make that didn't have like a turn around and come back on the same road, 1.3 miles. And I know because remember I said one summer I ran a lot?
Yeah.
Like one time I'm like, I've been running 8 miles a day. I have various routes, not all of them were in town. But I'm like, I wonder, it was like one of those perfect summer days where it was hot, but it was still raining. But because it was hot, the rain wasn't so bad that it was just soaking you.
Right.
It was just cooling you off. I'm like, wonder if I could go 13 miles, which I'd never done before. I'd done, 7 and 8 all the time. My usual route was about 8.5. And so I just did 10 laps. That was 13 miles.
Oh, wow.
So that's not a big deal, but that's how I remember, and I'll never forget that route was only 1.3 miles.
Oh, my gosh.
And I lived, my dad was in the school administration. I lived a half a block from the school property.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So you live by the track or whatever. They have a track. Did you have a
I
track
never
there?
went to run on the track. In fact, even though I ran track, I still get butterflies thinking about running for track.
Track.
Yeah, it's hard. Track's hard.
It is. It's hard.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you think I did in high school? If you looked at me, what would you
Sheesh.
think?
Okay, first of all, I'm gonna say cheerleader. Second of all, oh my gosh. Now I just remembered something that you had said, and I have to remember whether I would have thought of that. And then we got to met, and I don't know if I would have. So I'm gonna mention that, but I'm gonna mention that. But in saying that, I think I would have said no, or I wouldn't have even thought of this topic. So that would be whether you did like student council or the like.
Okay.
And for student council, I might have thought you maybe did something minor there, but it wouldn't just really stand out to me. I would think you would have done something like choir, and or band. And if you're in band, you would have played. Well, it's just the girl stuff back then. It was just very gender related. So you played either the flute, the piccolo, or the clarinet. And if so, you probably weren't even in band the way you responded. But if I'll go with I'll go with flute because that's a common one. And if you're in sports, I don't know if you're in sports. I feel like maybe you weren't. I'm going to go with you probably weren't big on sports, but if I have to pick one, it's not basketball. It's not. Well, what is a girl sport that
There's track.
Oh, volleyball.
Volleyball.
Yeah, they're in track. Well, you could be track because a lot of girls were in track, even if they weren't loving it. But I'll go with volleyball and track. And let's see, what else do we got to cover? Yeah, I already said. Okay, advanced classes. You took theater. Did I decide on whether you did theater? Because obviously your brothers probably did, but I don't know if you would. So I'm gonna say you dabbled in theater. I'm going to say dabbled in theater. And I said choir, band. Oh, by the way, I played clarinet of all things. You want to look like a wuss. They're like, oh, just come in here and we'll decide what your lips are made for. I'm like, first of all, that's gross. Second of all, for some reason I was apparently not able to go. I don't know if that's like you gotta do for brass instruments. Anyway, I ended up playing tenor sax and bass clarinet. But only part-time. Like, I never got great at it because remember I said once I moved to the one area, I didn't even play a lot. So I played in pep band at basketball. Which I loved. I loved nights at basketball because it'd be you'd be chilling out with your friends before the first game, halftime, in between games, and then another halftime, and you'd just be there for like 2.5 hours. I actually really love going to basketball games. So let's see, dabbled in theater, choir band. Shoot, what else do I need to cover? Theater, advanced class. As far as classes, I have no idea. I'd say you probably did fine with them, but you didn't just take any major fine in classes. But, weren't like, oh, I got to take the next really big, hard class. But I could be wrong about that. What other stuff should I cover? Oh, did I mention I was an academic decathlon? I mean, that would make sense. But I didn't do great because I wasn't so nerdy that I wanted to go study every question. But I definitely did okay on a few of them. And we just didn't have it, all over the place. But we did, 1 year in there or so at one of my... or the other, we had academic
What
decathlon.
about, debate or forensics?
We didn't really have it. So fine art classes, debate. That's a good question. I'm going to say no. But do you mean forensics? How sometimes that includes a dramatic little short element?
That's the dramatic one.
Okay, I'll say. Do I say yeah? Maybe that will go with dabble. I'm going to say you dabble a little bit, if nothing else, because your brothers definitely were into it. So we got cheerleader, student council, but I may not have guessed that. I just that you've told me that. But maybe I would have said you at least did that a little bit. Play the flute, volleyball, dabbled in track, dabbled in theater, and by the same token, forensics. And you did fine in classes, but you didn't particularly go try to do, I don't know, you weren't passionate about classes.
All right. Well, I tried out for cheerleader every year and never made it.
What?
So in 7th grade, in our school, when you tried out for cheerleader in 7th grade to be a 7th grade cheerleader, and then once you became a cheerleader, you pretty much just always were the cheerleader. It's just kind of but I went from a country school, so I didn't even know what cheerleading was. So when we got into 7th grade, I was like, how did this even happen? And how did they get to be cheerleaders? And so my 8th grade year, now that I know what it is, I tried out for it. I didn't make it. But my freshman year, I tried out, didn't make it, but I tried out for drill team, which was pom-pom, and that's when I made drill team.
Okay.
So I'm a dancer.
I forgot about drill team.
So I did drill team for 3 years. And I was captain my junior year. And then due to some adults at the school and some conflicts and my attitude, I did not do anything my senior year. That's just a down
question.
Time.
Did drill team mean batons plus some dance?
Just pom-poms. We had the pom-poms. We had baton twirlers, but yeah, I did not know how to do that.
but it's still like
dance.
routine. Yeah, okay.
Dance. So I was a choreographer as well.
And
so
captain, you said.
I was captain.
So
my
that
junior
was
year.
kind of like the cheerleader thing,
Yeah.
but I was wrong about cheerleader. Okay.
So
I said student council.
student council.
Well, I said minor.
I was treasurer.
Yeah, I mean, I was never. It's funny because I ended up being a political science minor, but when I grew up, I mean, no one was pissed about the president. No one got pissed off one way or the other, and if they did, you didn't talk about that in front of your kids, so we didn't get that. We just knew the president was the president and things are happening.
Right.
No one, and I mean all the way through high school. I mean, nobody said, Reagan's the worst. I mean, you could go read Newsweek during study hall and see that apparently some people didn't like Reagan, but there was
Right,
no
yeah.
polarization back then.
Well,
So
our student
it's funny
council
'cause-
just did dances. That's all we did.
Oh yeah, dances.
We made the
forgot about
dances. Like we would just do dances and stuff like that. I really don't know what student council did. It's not like we changed the world or
Yeah,
anything.
see, we didn't.
We had
but did you
meetings.
have someone who's like, I'm a leader and I want to be the president, or it was even the
Well,
president like, whatever? I mean, I guess I got president.
No, it's just kind of a popularity contest, and nobody really tried out for it. And you make some posters, but I can remember the cool thing about being student council is when I was running late in the morning, and instead of being tardy, I could run into the sponsor's room and ask a stupid question. And he'd be like, oh, and then he'd answer the question. I'm like, hey, is there any way I can get a pass? I'm going to be late. And then he'd be like, sure you can. So Kim had no tardies. And I had no tardies in high school because I was able to manipulate that situation every time.
I was, but I also lived so close, and both areas I lived, I was never far away because they were small towns. But the second one, especially since it was only, did you? It's like we didn't have, we didn't have a snack area per se. Like
Yeah, we did.
You had the cafeteria food. We didn't have vending machines.
We had they turned on after school only. Like they came on after school only, but during breaks. So in our high school, there were 40-minute classes on Monday. So you would go to 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, 6. So you'd go to your first hour, then you'd go to your fourth hour, then you'd go to your second hour, then you go to your fifth hour, then you go to your third hour, then you go to your sixth hour. Then on Tuesdays, you went to 2-hour classes, 1, 2, 3.
2 hours in high school?
On Wednesday, you'd go to 4, 5, 6, and then you'd go to 1, 2, 3, and then you go to 4, 5, 6. On Mondays, you only had half the time, and then on Tuesdays, Tuesdays and Thursdays, you went to one class, and Wednesdays and Fridays, you went to the other 2, 3 classes.
And Monday, you just kind of
Monday was kind of the
brushed
review,
up on everything?
yeah, and maybe get some notes to know that there's a test the next day or on Thursday, or so. We kind of had the college, like our system was kind of set up like college, so that we were ready to go to those longer classes as opposed to, because 40 minutes just doesn't get anything done.
I think all of ours were basically just short of an hour, whatever.
Yeah.
But I've had so many college credits that sometimes and it was divided between that was Navy time, so it's like, sometimes I wonder how well I'm remembering some of the details of high school.
Well, so we'd have a 10-minute break, and then we had a 15-minute break. So in between the first one, we'd have a 10-minute break, and then you had a 5-minute break in between. First hour, you'd go for 40 minutes. You get a 5-minute break, which was your bathroom time. Go get a drink, and then you'd come back and you'd finish that time. It was not exactly 2 hours because we weren't in school that long, but that's kind of how we were. So as for band, I played the flute in the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And I think that's it. I did it at elementary school. And I played the flute. And I just was not good at it. To me, it was just kind of blah.
And so then you say no more band? Or
No more
something
band.
else? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't do the band. You couldn't do
I didn't
band.
like it so much, but it's like one of those things where I just didn't quit it. Like I didn't like concerts because with that deal where I'm distracted by football, I would be like, okay, time for a concert, and I don't even know this music very well. And I didn't go home and just like practice my bass clarinet. It's like, so I would be, kind of, I don't want to say faking it because I was playing, but sometimes when it was a complicated section, I might just, these weren't solos, like I'd just kind of move my,
Yeah, so I didn't do that. And
solos.
you really drill team was enough because you met like 3 nights out of the week after school. I didn't want, and band, I don't even think we could be band. And so,
So
yeah, no band.
another half right for me.
Yeah, but it
Or a
was
little
in
bit under
elementary
one
school.
right.
Elementary school.
Yeah.
In
so-
high school, I do not participate in sports ever. My sports were my drill team. That was it. I mean, that was
See,
sport
I thought
enough
because
for
there were
me.
people in track, like I didn't take you as just being like, oh man, I was all about it. But I
no.
still thought, and if I should have asked the size of your school, but
I had 256 kids in my class.
okay, well that changes things because when you're in a small school,
Yeah, I'm sure it'd be different.
then it's
then.
like, well, maybe you're on the track team, but you don't really care. You're not
Yeah.
much of a performer, but you get to hang out and it's social, and most of you go hang
Yeah.
out in the long jump, the high jump up, cushions.
I didn't hang out with the sports people. I hung out with the partiers.
See, we just didn't have that we didn't have that. We did.
What?
The second school is just big enough where you definitely had some niches, but it wasn't very nichey. So
Right.
I'm basically wrong on the sports entirely.
So,
Although I did say dabbled, I was
but I
still
can tell
wrong.
you that I did play volleyball intramurals in elementary school. I loved volleyball. I'm just not tall enough, and my boobs are too big.
I thought maybe. Oh, I didn't even think of
Like
that.
my boobs, I'm just
so-
awkward. I can't do gymnastics. I can't do anything. They're just in the way.
You go. Oh my gosh. What was it? Something and set and spike. Anyway.
Yeah, no.
Anyway,
it hurt.
so you go to put out the your arms, and anyway, your boobs deaden the ball too.
Yeah, yeah. yeah.
It doesn't set the ball well for the spiker. Just thump, it stops right there.
Right, done. It's this little table. Well, and so I did do. I think it was called the Treble-Airs, or I was in the girl singing group, so I did do singing. And then my junior year, I went to.
Oh, I think I met. No, I did say choir and
Yeah,
band.
I was
it's
in
just
choir.
that I then focused on
Correct.
flute. Yeah.
But when
So singing was not choir
Singing
per
was-
se, or what?
I was in
that
choir.
thing?
Yes, I was in choir. I was just in the girl group. It was all girls. The Treble-Airs.
See, we had just large.
We had, like,
just a
choral-airs.
big choir.
Well, we had that too. That was
Okay.
just a class. You took
Okay.
that class, and then you all sang on a stage. But the Treble-Airs where you had to try out for, and it was just a group of girls. And then we had Choral-Airs, which I never tried out for because you had to wear a dress. And both of my brothers did that. They wore the not dress. They had to wear the tuxedo, but they're the fancy ones that go travel around and sing things and all that stuff. So no, I didn't do that. I mean, I did music. And then as for theater, my freshman and sophomore year, they wouldn't allow us to try out because they did theater practice the same time we had drill team practice. So my junior year, I went to them and I said, you know what? I really want to try out. I am the captain of the team. I'm the captain. And I will change the schedule and, I will make this so that we can try out. So the teacher said, well, let's see how it works. And so some cheerleaders tried out and drill team tried out. And I got second female lead in Brigadoon. And I played Meg,
Nice.
the slut. And so during that performance, on one of my performances, there's like this, it was kind of like a little stoop thing where Brad, the guy that's in the show, I don't know whatever, but he was laying down and I can't even remember what he was doing. And there's like a tree and I had to step up and I had to put my leg over and move my body to kind of be sitting up above him. And when I did that, my ankle popped out.
Oh, I just thought you were gonna fall. And
No, my ankle popped out. And so it was videotaped and I just kind of went, and I'm singing at the same time. So the words that came out of my mouth after that were just babble. They didn't make any sense.
'Cause
And
you're
so I was
trying to maintain
I'm just
that
like,
you're
I'm
hurt.
just like, oh my God, like something is going wrong with my ankle. So then I get down and I put pressure on. I'm thinking this isn't going to be good. But like you're in a show, you just go through it. So I get off the stage and I'm like, I need ice now. And so I'm like putting ice on my ankle, and they've got my ankle propped up, and it's kind of swollen a little bit. And so the next thing I know, they're coming back, and they're like, Kim, you're on. And I had to sing my mother's wedding day. So he's playing the bloom, bloom, bloom.
Oh no.
Like, and there's no Kim. I came out, I did my little jig, because it's an Irish jig kind of a thing, on my ankle. No one had a clue until the end of the show, when we have to do the bow, and I'm standing there, and when I bowed down and I came up, and I just had tears coming down my eyes, and they had to carry me off. Like, I was done. It was kind of messed up. So they wrapped my ankle and carried me to the car, and it was good times.
Our theater was not, I mean, this what amazes me about some of the city schools is their theater is so advanced.
Oh my gosh, ours is state-of-the-art now.
Especially in Topeka, where it's small enough, if people don't know, it's small enough that we don't have professional theater, but it's big enough that a lot of people are interested in theater.
Right.
And so because of that, all kinds of people get all kinds of experience. And because of that, I think the what I say, I said it before about some of our drama teachers, when they would say people who do and people who can't teach, that whole denigrating phrase. And I said, the great thing about our area is so many of the drama teachers get to continue to act.
Right.
And I think that helps keep them sharp instead of just being, hey, so we need a drama teacher. I did a little bit in college, I'll do it.
Right.
So the high school productions around here are amazing. It was nothing like that at my school.
No.
Like, we just kind of whopped our way through the production. Some of them were okay. I learned my lines just like I do now. I mean, I learned my lines, but then there were the awkward, like, I think, like, my only flub-ups were in high school. Like, I haven't really had any major flub-ups since I've acted here, where it's just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do now.
Right.
Because I'll just obliterate line reading. Like, I will I'll pulverize line reading until I know it. But one thing that was funny, we had they just trying to dark down the stage in between scenes, and I had this little loft area that was supposed to be the bedroom for the boy who was in Diary of Anne Frank. And I had to change, but they didn't darken it enough. And so I just had these little boxers. And people would laugh during Anne Frank because I'm up there changing, and I just got boxers in between.
Right.
It's just like, well, that was kind of embarrassing. But so what about forensics? Yeah.
No, I spent one day in debate class, and those people were so freaking nerdy. I was like, I can't do it.
See that's different again, because it's just everything is more moderated when it's a small group,
right? No,
and it's more specialized when it's 200.
Exactly.
People.
I've got 200 people. I was like this. Like, this is too much work. And I mean, she said this is going to be a lot of work, and then I even had my little cards and all that stuff, and I was like, I don't want to do this. So I got out of that, but. With my theater, I did that in junior year, and then my senior year had kind of gone. I tried out for cheerleader. They screwed up and told me I didn't make cheerleader, and they let a girl with 3 votes make cheerleader. Then my mom stormed up there and said, how did this girl make cheerleader? And they said, oh, well, we had to take half seniors and half juniors. And they were like, no, you didn't. And the board was like, yeah, we don't? And so they were like, no. And they're like, well, oh. And then they told my mom, well, we've already told all these other people they made cheerleaders, so it just wouldn't be fair to them to take it away from them. So they took it away from me. And then as I was walking down the hall, because I tried out for cheerleader every year, and the sponsor of the pom-pom squad was standing inside her classroom little 4-way thing. There's like a little indention. She didn't see me coming walking down towards her, and she goes, yeah, I heard she didn't make cheerleader. If she thinks she's going to show up halfway during tryouts and just make it again this year, she's got another thing coming. As I walked by the teacher. These are educators to children. And I walked by her and I said, I wouldn't be on your team if you paid me to. And the look on her face was like, oh my gosh, she heard me. So that is what adults did to, like, when I say that teachers affect children, I'm a junior, gonna be a senior. I have done everything. Yes, on the classes, I took analysis, I took trig, I took calculus.
So I was wrong
took
on that.
every math class you could because that was fun for me. I took math for every semester, all the way up.
So what confuses me, because I think some of our overlap and it's some of our personality is that when you have a logical brain and not... it was funny because I think we're both kind of full spectrum, but we have that level of logical brain where if we come to a conclusion, we're not going to back off too much just for feelings.
No.
You know, so I knew that, but then and with the accounting, it should have made sense that you might have taken all those. But I love trigonometry too.
Oh, yeah.
I love trigonometry today.
The only thing
It's logical and makes sense, and there's real answers.
my only class I hated was geometry. I hated geometry. Cosine, cosine, parameter. I'm like, I don't understand. This is too much I want my algebra. I love algebra. And people go, I didn't use algebra again today. I'm like, yes, you did. You just don't know you're using algebra. I use algebra. I just did the other day. I was doing an equation trying to figure something out using my algebra. I loved algebra. So math geek here. So here I am, my junior year. So I come around to my senior year, and I'm just fed up. I'm not on pom-pom. I am on student council because I'm the treasurer. And that's really all I had. And that's kind of when my tail started going in a spin of a craziness. But I was in a bad mood, and they came out and they were going to do the show Oklahoma. And I was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to try out. And the teacher came over to me and she was like, but you have to try out. It's your senior year. Who's going to play the lead? Her words, not mine. And I was like, it's so much work. I mean, because doing a play is a lot of work.
Yeah.
I'm going I just want to sit and eat bonbons on a couch. I'm in my depression. I'm not doing what I love. I'm not doing my drill team because that's what I really loved. All these girls are doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not in a good mood and I don't want to do your dumb play. But, okay, I'll do it. If I have to do the lead, I'll be in it. By the way, I started the tradition of allowing drill team and pom-pom to be in a play. We were the first year. We had a lot of chorus girls that were cheerleaders and stuff like that.
Yeah, that only makes sense because
it moved forward. I mean, so we moved forward.
because they're people that want to be in activities, so
Correct.
that's a large pool. And they're pretty.
Right. Well, we're pretty. Pretty. So, and we dance. We can do the dances in a musical.
We never did dances.
We
didn't do one musical. We didn't do one musical.
We were all musicals. We did a little anyway. So
I was totally wrong on theater.
Yeah.
I said, well, maybe she dabbles, but I didn't think she was. And really, you had more lead. I was in every play, like in high school. But it depends on the size of the role. And like I said, we only did 2 a year.
Well, we did 2 a year as well. So, but I didn't do the play. I only did musicals. So senior year.
Yeah, when I say the only production, I was in every production, but there were no musicals.
So I go and I practice my stuff and I get up there because I'm going to make lead because she's already told me I have to try out for this stupid play. And everything comes out and I walk over and I look up and it's got the lead and it's got the lead's name. Not Kim. Oh. I look at the second lead, not Kim, and I go all the way down, and I'm in the chorus.
That's the worst. It's not, but it's always
it
is
tough. When the only reason I tried out is because she told me that I had the lead because I'm the senior. A junior got the lead. A junior doesn't get the lead. Well, I wasn't even mad at the junior. I was mad at the stupid teacher. So you know what I did?
You said no?
I took my pencil and I put a little arrow for my name and I said, I don't think so. That's what I left on the list. And I walked away, dropped my pencil, and I was like, boom. And so anyway, that upset her because I wrote that on her little sheet. Don't tell me that I have to try out and they're going to put me in the chorus. That's a punch in the flippin' face.
Especially if she goes, yeah. well, who's going to be the lead then? Unless that was just her, oh, I just say that to everybody.
No, why would you make me try out to be a chorus when I was second lead and I'm the senior? So anyway, that'd be the very first time that I actually made that teacher really mad at me. She probably cried then, but I did make her cry later. Yeah. Okay, so after I didn't make that, and I put my little note on there, I ended up getting bronchitis, mono, pneumonia, and
Here
tonsillitis.
I thought you were going to say a part in the spring play. You said bronchitis. That's the one where you said you almost died?
Almost died twice, yeah.
And so what was the second one?
I had bronchitis, pneumonia, mono, and tonsillitis all at one time.
Are you sure you didn't really have this thing just many years ago?
Coronavirus. You know what?
You've always been ahead of...
I have been ahead of the curve, and I'm telling you. So they,
I had tonsillitis too, but nothing with that.
I spent 9 weeks in bed. So
when, like
my senior year,
first semester? Or
no,
when?
it was. I think it was the second semester because it was cold outside.
Bummer, dude. Because you're like supposed to be all like senior year, yeah, and you're
So I'm in bed and. Then, like 5 weeks or 4 weeks into it, they let me go to school for one class a day. You know what class that was?
Trigonometry.
It was math. I did. I went to my math classes. I couldn't even walk from my car to the classroom without having to stop and like sit down for a little while because it was really
Your
really
lungs
bad.
Were not working.
No, they were not. But I needed to be out of the room as I start coughing. So anyway, I did make a full recovery from that, but that being said...
Well in time for graduation or just like barely in time?
No, because we still have a whole other half a year of school left.
Okay, well you said I didn't know if
we're
that
in the
meant
winter, like the second semester of 4. Okay, so, but I'm not in school, and I'm not even mentally able to do a lot of the homework. So a couple of my teachers were like, hey, whatever you've gotten before... We're just going to give you that grade. Here's the work to do, but you don't have to worry about taking the test. So I do the homework part. I'm not being taught by online teachers. I'm being taught by myself.
And your book.
Because my mom doesn't know how to do any of this stuff. So I'm doing as much work as I possibly can. And I get to go back to school. And I go into this teacher who's the theater person into my class. And I sit down. I have not been in class for 4 or 5, 6, 7 weeks. I mean, I'm just towards the end. And mind you, I missed part of the first semester and then the second semester. So the first semester, I was able to get those tests. So anyway, I sit down and she comes around and she puts a test down in front of me. And she keeps walking and puts a test in front of everybody. And I'm like, I raised my hand and I was like, I'm sorry, but I've not even been here for 3 weeks. I really don't know what's going on. And she goes, do your best. So I sat there. This is going to shock you. But my best was I put my name on the test. I got up, I put it on her desk, and I went and sat down. So she gets up and she looks at my test. I didn't even read it. You know what? That is not even right. So she gets up and she leaves. Next thing you know, the principal comes. Miss Schultz, can I see you out in the hallway? My teacher is bawling. And I walked out and he goes, can you explain this? And I said, I can explain this. I've been sick with bronchitis, pneumonia, and tonsillitis, and I've almost died. I haven't been in her classroom. I come back for the first day and she hands me a test. She told me to do my best. How am I supposed to answer? And it was a theater class. How am I supposed to answer any of this stuff? Like, if I answer it, then I'm going to get an F. If I turn it in 0, I'm going to get an F. Why am I going to put any effort into it? Well, is this true? She's, well, I was just... And he's like, well, Kim, you need to apologize. For what? What did I do? So now I become a rebel because I've always been... I am still my same personality. I've always stuck up for myself. So then everything goes good. We're back. I'm doing my stuff, and I get my grade cards. And I have B's and C's because I don't expect A's. I haven't been in class. And I have an F from my government teacher. And I look at the F. Now, most people would have gone home. Nope, I did not go home. I got my grade card. I went back to his classroom. I threw it down on the thing, and I said, "What is this?" And he said, well, let me look it up. And he goes, "Well, you didn't turn in 2 of your tests." I go, "Did you give them to me? Were you in class?" I said, "I have been sick."
How did you not know that?
He was like, "Oh." And I said, "You told me that you were going to use my homework and then the average class, my grade from last time. And now you gave me an F. Well, take these tests home. Here's the book. Fill them out and bring them back." So he took my F to a B or whatever. And my mom was just kind of like, "Do I need to go talk to them?" I'm like, "It's handled."
So this was like in early May or something?
Yeah. No, this is in January or, I'm only still in second semester.
Halfway in between. See,
Yeah.
I don't even remember. Did we split them and get like halfway through the semester?
We had 9
grades?
weeks. So we had 9 weeks. So every 9 weeks we switched classes. Ours were in 9-week classes. So I would go to Trig for 9 weeks, and then I'd go to Algebra
Gotcha.
for 9 weeks, and then I would go to Trig 2 for 9 weeks. I'd go to Analysis for 9
Shoot,
weeks.
I guess I don't remember. I thought they were all the same
We were
classes
in 9
for
weeks, and then some classes
But
were
maybe there were two little
two
semesters in
semesters.
the spring and 2 in
Right.
the fall. I honestly do not
And
remember.
each school is different because we were more like a college, but we did the 4 things. So anyway, I've always been kind of a, I'll stick up for myself. I don't need someone else to do it for me. But that's like my senior year wasn't as fun. I can tell you though that I was the party house.
I was wondering about summers too, which is kind of related to that. And then
no.
also, your driving scenario, but maybe that's all kind of a big
Well,
discussion.
So at our house, we lived out in the country, so we really didn't have any neighbors, and we were probably about 1.5 miles from the school. I could walk to school through neighbors' yards, through over a street, up there for a field to get up to school if I needed to, and I did that a couple times. But
Meaning you didn't drive, but I didn't mean to school. I just meant generally you're driving.
Right.
You drive a lot, or
no, I didn't drive a lot. Oh, I drove back into town to see my friends, but so anyway. My place is like after the football games, everybody would just drive by my house to see if cars were there, and they knock on the door and they'd be like, "Hey, is the party here tonight?" And my mom would be like, "No, not tonight, guys." So anyway, we were sitting out there. Now, mind you, let's remember that back in 1984, you could drink when you were 18 years old. So most seniors could drink in high school because it didn't change till 86.
Okay.
And so they would bring over all their beer. Plus, my mom and dad didn't care. Like, bring your beer over. We don't care. We just want the kids to have a safe place. If you've drank too much,
cool mom, cool dad,
then the guys will sleep downstairs. The girls will sleep upstairs. If I find that someone has wandered to the wrong level, your parents will be called. It was just a rule. So we had probably about, I'd have to say, 100 kids at this party.
What?
Not a planned party. Just people just started showing up. My mom and dad are inside the house. We lived in the country. Cars are parked all the way down a dirt road.
Country allows some freedom for that too.
And so, well, in the 80s allowed some freedom too. So anyway, we're all partying, and the next thing you know, 2 sheriff officers come walking up the driveway. The minor kids are kind of like putting their beers down and going around to the backyard, and he's like, "Do you happen to have some? Whose house is this?" Everybody points at me, and I'm like, "Hi, guys," and they're like, "Would your parents happen to be home?" And I'm thinking, we have 100 kids here. I go, "Yeah, they're inside," and so all night long I kept bringing people in, and my dad's in his recliner with his beer in his hand, watching, with his clothes on, just watching TV. And all night I'd walk in and be like, "Hey, Dad, this is John. Hey, Dad, this is Mary. Hey, Mom and Dad." I was introducing them so that they would put a face with the stories of my friends that aren't my close friends. I walk in and I'm like, hey, Mom, Dad, here's Sheriff Officer number 1 and 2. And the guy goes, how's it going, Mr. Schultz? And he goes, well, it's fine. Is there a problem, sir? And he goes, well, there is a problem. He said one of your neighbors drove down the road and realized that you can't get a car down because you've got cars parked on both sides of the road.
That was the big problem.
Oh, yeah. And my dad goes, oh, well, I've got a problem for that. Hold on just a minute. Now, mind you, my dad's a square dance caller, so we've got his turntable and his microphone playing music, loud music. He gets on the microphone and he says, if you are on the opposite side of the road than the house, I need you all to get in your car and come park in the yard. And within 15 minutes, every car on that side of the road came in. My dad was out there directing like traffic, just putting them in the yard because we had a huge front yard. Parked them all and he says, officer, and they're like, have a good evening, and just left. So that was one of my parties.
Oh, my Lord.
So then I had tons and tons of parties when my parents were gone because they traveled all the time for square dancing. And when I got older, there'd be like 20, 30 of us in the house partying. Everyone knew that they were to respect the area. There was, picked up your trash. There was never any. And one night, all of a sudden, this, and they were not thugs by any means. They were just other kids from the school. Somebody had stole a girlfriend. I don't even know what the fight was about. All of a sudden, and I know both groups. They come up and they're just like, hey, is such and such in that house? And I was like, yeah, why? And they were like, yeah, he needs to get out here because I'm going to kick his ass. And so by that time, people started coming out of my house. And I walked over to them and I said, ain't nobody kicking ass at my house. And they were like, yeah, we are. I said, no, you're not. I said, no, you're not. I said, you guys want to fight? Go up to the Grange Hall. And the Grange Hall is like a one-room schoolhouse, and it was just right up the block. So everybody gets in their cars, and they all drive up to this Grange Hall. And you've got this circle of people. And I mean, I'm sure there was
like,
more in my head.
Good. Yeah,
and they're sitting there, and they're like, what up, blah, 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 blah. And they're like talking smack. And all of a sudden, one of my friends goes, who's the dude with the knife? And everybody ran and got in their cars. And I'm like, what? Nobody had a knife. We make fun of him for that. We don't even know what he was talking about. And so then we all came back and just continued partying at my house. Those are like the two that I do. And then another thing was one night I was kind of grounded from my car.
Did you say kind of grounded?
Kind of.
Because grounded always had an asterisk that was,
I guess,
subject to Kim's whims.
Right? And I wasn't grounded very often. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you why.
I guess I was grounded, yeah.
Well, there's a football game going on. Remember I told you we can walk to school. So my friend Pam came over to my house, and she was a cheerleader, and I was drill team, because this is probably when we were like freshman or sophomore. And so we go walking up my street, and as we walk up the street, a skunk runs in front of us and sprays us.
No.
Yes. Oh, so we ran through it.
You ran through it?
Well, I meant like it's there. So we ran, towards the school, like up the street. And then we have to go up a busy street, like the big main street. We have to walk along that till we get to a side street. So we're not supposed to be doing this. Okay, we're grounded. I'm supposed to be home. But if I don't take the car and move the car, she's not going to know. Yeah, she's probably going to know because I'm going to smell like a skunk. But anyway, we go to the game. Smelling like a skunk.
If you walk there, you mean. Gotcha.
We walked to the game. We smell like a skunk the whole night. And people kept going, oh my gosh.
And you never fessed?
No, we told everybody. We got sprayed by a skunk. And the principal came over and goes, you're my two little stinkers. That was our name for the whole year. Two little stinkers. So anyway, we stayed after the game, and we're coming home, and it's late now because it wasn't dark when we went, but it's dark now. So we're going down the road, and when you turn down our road, you've got a ditch, and the ditch is probably about 3 feet tall. And as we're coming down the street, this car passes us, stops, and like turns into the driveway, and we're like, oh crap. So we start running. Well, I take the corner right and Pam takes the corner to the ditch, and I look behind and all I know is I see her head just disappears into the ditch and she's screaming, "Don't leave me! Don't leave me!" And I said, "You smell like a skunk. They're not going to take you." And I'm running down the street.
So you just saw, like, you didn't know what was up with that car and you're freaked for a second?
And they just went back by. More than likely, they were probably, I don't know, it was probably a parent going, "What stupid child is walking on this busy street?" So anyway, she gets up and her whole leg is scratched up from falling in the ditch. And we get home, take off all of our clothes. We wash it, thinking that's going to help. And then my mom comes in. "Why does the house smell like skunk?" Busted.
I don't. Did you even try? What happened?
No.
Because you could have said, well, it was in the backyard.
Yeah, it was all in the backyard. And that's why
Did
her
you try
legs all
that?
scraped up. No, we
You
were
were like-
busted. We were busted. So, I mean, I didn't get in trouble, like trouble for it, because I think she realized you went to a
punished
game
yourself.
smelling like a skunk. Who does that? But I did. So,
That's
yeah,
hilarious.
That's like...
So what was your dances situation? Were you guys like, people like dances? Was it like the
Oh,
most
yeah.
awkward thing
No.
ever? Like no one knew how to dance and you're like...
No, well, you
or-
had the little slow dance where your hands were on each other's shoulders and you kind of moved. But no, we'd dance in circles. You know, like the
Right.
girls would all dance in circles, and I loved going to the dances. I didn't like the date dances. I did go to one dance. I had a date to one dance. I didn't really date in high school a lot. I just wanted to have
How
fun.
many did you have? Just like the something in the fall?
Oh
and then
no,
prom,
we had King of Courts. We had the King of Courts, which was the kind of like homecoming queen. So we had the homecoming dance. We had the Sadie Hawkins dance. We had the after the basketball game dance. We had the student council dances.
whoa.
We probably had like six or
After
seven.
the basketball game?
Yeah, like after the basketball game, we'd have some dances.
You'd have a get together on some basketball nights just to,
After the game, we would meet at the gym, not the gym, but the little commons area and have a dance. Yeah.
Wow.
But we had like 6 dances a year. Hello, I'm on student council. We're partying it up. Yeah, we had dances all the time. It was nothing like today where you had to go out and buy some formal dress. That's ridiculous. Those, like, how much money these parents paying for that? We just like put on our favorite
Anything more
pair
awkward than looking at your old prom picture? It's like, oh my god.
my mother made my dress. It was pink taffeta.
You have to, I had a
Beautiful.
cummerbund. I had a cummerbund.
A cummerbund. I think Brian did too. Actually, my daughter's dad, that's who I went to prom with, was my ex-husband. It was not fun. I didn't have
Memory
a good time.
lane.
So that's kind of high school for me. I was, I do have one. So there was a girl that came to our school and she was missing a front tooth. She was a bigger girl and she was just not nice to people. And so I was, I'd be sitting there and then she'd be like mean and she, like she'd say little remarks and she might even went to the smoking lounge. Back in my day, we had a smoking lounge and those kids scared me. I don't know why. They're always in black and they always
smoking
smoking.
lounge?
Yeah, you would walk outside because we had 2 buildings. And so you'd walk outside and there was actually a little cove in part of the building and the kids would go out there and smoke.
The high schoolers were
High
intended to
schoolers.
go and
yeah,
smoke
you could
there?
go out and smoke outside. Yeah, because you could smoke at 18 years old.
Oh.
And we smoked. They smoked. They scared you'd have to go through there, and I'm allergic to smoke anyway. So, but they would always kind of scare me. And I think she's out there, and they always like that to me. I don't know why, because I'm friends with a lot of them now, and I'm thinking. I was scared of you. If you were in the smoking lounge and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I was in the smoking lounge," I'm like, "You scared me." And so, anyway, this girl was in there, and she just always looked real tough. I mean, she was a bigger girl, real tall too. So we're sitting in a music class one day, in chorus, and she was sitting in front of me. And when you're on drill team, you have to wear your uniform for every flippin' sport event. So it's a basketball game. So we have the away uniform, the to here uniform, the performance
You mean
uniform.
to perform or just to
Just
sit
to
in a
wear
group?
it every day to school. You had to wear it to school to show your spirit. Like the
On like a game day, you mean?
every game day. Yes,
Okay.
every game day we had to wear our uniforms.
Yeah, I think
So we're sitting there in our big thick sweaters and our our polyester skirts. And she was sitting in front of me, and she kind of leaned her chair back, and she goes, what really irritates me are those cheerleaders. And her friend said something else, and she goes, yeah, they think they're all big and bad. They just walk around this school in their little skirts. Those cheerleaders. And she kept pushing her chair at me, and I came down, and I put my hands on her thing, and I looked, and I said, yeah, cheerleaders I don't like them either. And she looked at me, and I go, and that's why I'm drill team. Like, we take anybody. And she just looked around, and she's like, She was the nicest person ever because she was so new. She just didn't know. Like, she came in tough. Everybody made stories up about her tooth. It didn't get knocked out in a fight. It was something else. I mean, we had her, busting out of jail and coming to school. And so I remember, and then she was really nice. And I've even seen her, outside of high school at some point, and she was just like, you were always nice to me. And so... that's what I tried to do.
We lived in a small town, and there's a couple things before we wrap up. Three observations. One is, be interested. You didn't have the new kid phenomenon like we did. If somebody moved in, holy crap, a new kid moved in.
Right.
It didn't happen much. It was like a farming community. Both
why
of them
are they here? What's happening?
Both of them are kind of farming communities. The second one I lived in a little bit less. So there's that. You really had, you were something else if you were the new kid, if nothing else, just because there's finally somebody new. And it was a fairly small place, so most people stayed there. But secondly, remember when I said I didn't do much in the summer? I think that really kind of contributed to my introversion.
Right.
Because in some places, like the town I lived in did not have most of the people in class. In my class, they were in other small towns or in the country.
Kind of brought
so
in.
It's not like you could even walk, 10 blocks and go see one person.
Right.
7 blocks, or take the car just in town. You have to go to another whole town. So that probably worked towards my introversion. And I never had anybody over, which became a thing. I mean, friends when I was younger,
right.
When it's suddenly not your first friend and your second friend where you're just best buddies. When it just got to high school, again, it reminds me of my later life where my friends were just kind of the people I hung out with for some other reason. My fun came from my activity. I didn't really bring people around a lot otherwise. And in the summer, I basically didn't see anybody. I think that contributed to my introversion. And to your point, the fact that your parents bring them over.
Yeah.
I mean, that had to be kind of, something that helped form your extroversion.
Yeah. I was going to say, and it does have to do with parents as well, because my mom and dad had people over all the time.
And nobody would have necessarily wanted to come to our place. Everybody liked my dad, but he was the superintendent.
Yeah, no.
So how many people we wouldn't have come over to party?
My mom babysat for the superintendent's kid when a long time ago, back when we were little. The superintendent of the Topeka schools, we babysat his son.
Yeah.
We were at their house all the time. I babysat him all the time, but he wasn't our superintendent because I went to a country. I didn't go to that school. I went to one that was out in the country. I think that, our personalities are, I've always been a planner. That's why I did everything that I've done. In fact, it was in my senior year, I think, I decided that we needed a talent show. I designed the entire talent show.
I wouldn't have spent one moment doing it.
Yeah, I did the entire, and I went and had medals made, because back in the day you had to get medals. And so I was like, not everybody can do a sport and not everybody can do that, but somebody has talent. So let's let people vote, and we'll have a team of judges, and we'll do a talent show. And that was one of our student council things, but that was me, and they still do the talent show.
That's more than just, because between you leading the drill team, when I think of student government, I think more like that. So even though you said just treasurer, to me you're more like that person, and the organizer who wants to do this and that.
Always
and
have
I just
been.
couldn't. So part of it is, it's environment. But then part of it is I just couldn't care less about organizing anything.
Right.
Like I never said, geez, what should we do, guys? Maybe we can do this. Never, not once.
But see, if everybody did that, then we'd just be planning a bunch of stuff that nobody would show up at. You have that.
Well, one
planner.
time I did, and I didn't even like it. Like one time I was kind of recruited to help figure out a dance, and I just didn't like the way it went. And being an introvert, I think, where we talked about it, you can't be. If you're an extrovert, there is no amount of failure or seeming rejection that can keep you from keeping on. With a major introvert, the first time something's embarrassing or just doesn't seem like it went well, or everybody didn't think it went great even though you put a lot of effort into it, you ain't doing that again.
Right.
I mean, it's just, first of all, it's a stretch for me to do it, and then once I do it and I think I've organized it well, but then it's not like an absolute hit, or people, I don't want to do that again.
And see,
you would want to do the next thing and make it better.
Well,
and
I'm just kind of like, okay, well, that just sucked. Or, I mean, but I think that also builds your character to be able to see that I can make it better. This one failed, and that failure is okay. I don't like to fail, but I've had a lot of things that I've done. I'm like, oh, that didn't work out well. So let's try this, because I'm not going to ever give up. This is what I sent my girls from high school today. My friends and I from high school, we still hang out. I mean, we have the closest class. I've got even people that live all over the place will call every once in a while and just be like, hey, what's going on? And so I just said this one. It says, my mom said, if your friends jumped off a bridge, would you? Mom, I was the one with the idea. You birthed a leader, not a follower. My friends were like, oh my gosh, that's you. Because I was the one that said, you know what? Why don't we all go to Worlds of Fun? And my mom and dad took the Ford pickup truck with the camper trailer, and we put 10 kids in the back of a camper trailer pickup truck, which is no longer legal, all the way to Kansas City. So we had 5 guys, 5 girls. The girls spent the night. The guys' parents dropped them off in the morning. We drove all the way down to Kansas City. We did Worlds of Fun, and this had to have been... It had to have been when we were in middle school. It couldn't have been high school, but it might have been high school. We went down there, and some of them had boyfriends, whatever, but it was whoever wanted to go and could fit in the back of the truck. And
that was your idea.
That was my idea. I have always been planning these things. I've just planned. I did the 8th grade party. We did a Valentine's Day party. It's just in my head to program. But this is what I found. If I don't plan it, I sit at home and no one does anything. And
absolutely. We talked about the introvert problem. Like if you want something to be thought of but never even close to actually manifested, just have a group of introverts who want to get together.
Right.
We talked about it in another. But so you need somebody who's either a planner and or not an introvert or whatever that overlay is.
But also is I like it on my schedule, so there becomes that selfishness because they'll go like, hey, we're going over here on Tuesday, and I'm like, I already have something going on. I've got a meeting. So I know that when I plan my events, I'm available. That's really how it works. And
some of it's selfishness. I'd be like, too bad I can't do that.
Yeah, it's like, I can't.
That's all I would do.
I can't. And that happens a lot. So anyway, that's that. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That's kind of a,
did you do any other extracurriculars outside of school? Like, I just realized I like to bike. I went on the Register's annual Great Bike Ride across Iowa 3 years in a row, which is not a race. It's just a ride, but it's fun. You get to be away from your family for a week and just go all the way across Iowa and camp every night. And I also, what else did I put here? I didn't think I meant to say hiking. I must have really not been thinking. Anyway, I bowled as a junior high because my dad helped instruct the bowling, and it was like only 3 blocks away. And I almost rolled a 258.
I get a 58.
258. I was just showing my nephew and my brother-in-law the trophy because I still got it because I got the league high for the whole year. I was like 14 or something.
No sports here. None. My summers included going to the pool. Did you see my senior picture that I posted?
I looked at it, but I don't remember.
Look how dark I was.
I didn't.
We went to the pool.
We didn't go to the pool when I was in second school because that was more like a junior high thing and freshman thing and earlier. We when all the time in one town I lived in, the next town was so small, it didn't even have one. So you'd have to go to another town.
We had a pool. My friends had a pool in their neighborhood, so we went to the neighborhood pool.
Shoot, you still do that.
And so, I'm at the pool all the time.
If I get ripped and not embarrassed, then I'll go a couple of times this year with you if you'll have me.
Yes. Yeah, but you don't have to
say ripped. I mean, just not embarrassing. Let's go with that.
Well, you don't have to be ripped at my pool because there's just me. It's just me. I go over to my friend's mom's pool, and it's just me. I'm just by myself. And that I can do by myself. I turn on my music, and I lay on my float, and I'm just like, it's heaven. That's my sanity. People do not understand that you've got to have that time, and I need my pool time. There. That's my senior picture. Check out the tan.
See, I wouldn't have known for sure whether that was a tan or just the lighting, but you're right. That does look dark.
Yeah, I was tan. Like my arm, everything was tan.
In summer, I would get pretty tan because I would do the writing, or I would go running a lot
and hay
and stuff like that. But in general, I didn't ever chase the sun or anything like that. Although those years when we had the pool nearby, when I was like later elementary. Before we stopped doing the pool thing, we got tan every year that year because there were sophomore through senior cheerleaders who were the lifeguards in bikinis. I'm like, I'll have another tangy taffy. And I would just be looking. And they'd be like, Tyson, your taffy's right there. Oh, yes. I'd dig in for my quarters in my trunks. And then I'd be like back at the next break. I mean, I love swimming. Like I'm a fish.
Right.
And you do did you have a high board? A high dive?
Oh, yeah. At Sycamore Springs we did.
That kind of scared me, but I like the springboard. Like some summers, everybody would learn how to do flips off the springboard. And then I'd be back at the next break. I'll have another tangy taffy. I hope she turns around.
No. As a family, we went square dancing, and we would go to a place called Sycamore Springs, and it was a campground. And we'd go with a bunch of people, and they had a wood skating rink and an Olympic-sized pool with the high dive.
Wow.
And a goofy golf. And so Mom and Dad would be like, here's your money. Get out.
Nice.
And we would just go around with all of our friends, and that's what we did one weekend every month. So we went 3 times a year. And the other day, I was talking about something about what did you do in your summers or something for vacation.
Wait. Hold that thought. But you said 1 weekend a month, but you said 3 times a year.
Yeah, it was it was June, July, and August.
Oh, okay.
So we'd go in the summer. And so my friend Stacy would go with me. I'd take Stacy and Michelle, and I think Terry and Tony got to go, but I'd take one person with me. So I always had a friend with me. And
cabins or tent?
No, in our camper. We had a camper.
Okay, yeah.
And so the other day I had something on Facebook, and someone Stacy was like, what's that place we used to go to, Sycamore Springs? She was like, oh my gosh, that was the funnest place ever. And it was. And you'd have the boys would come into town, and you'd be out there skating, and you'd have your little summer romance. They wouldn't really know about it, but you just stare at it. Excuse me. You'd stare at them the same way. You're like, oh. And then we would always go to Colorado every summer for a square dance for 2 weeks as well. I mean, that was our summers were I was either at the pool, at a party, or we were camping.
Nobody puts Kimmy in the corner.
Nobody puts Kimmy in the corner. I didn't get it out of that.
I love Frisbee too. That's one I would just love to play Frisbee. I still do, actually. We've talked about that.
Right. Well, anyway, all right, guys.
Memory
I think that's
lane.
enough. We went down memory lane. That was awesome.
If in a year, if we have a memory lane and we don't remember these last month or so, that'd be a great thing. So let's hope this doesn't become part of our big memory lane as our life gets further along.
Yeah, I hope my memories
We talked about the good stuff.
That's right.
A little bit of good and bad, but...
Yeah, I mean, but your past builds who you are, and so you have to accept all that. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for giving us your time. We appreciate our listeners and are excited that our show is still going. It's only going because we'll keep doing it. So, anyway, make sure to comment in our Facebook group, Kimology 411, and if you haven't joined us yet, then you really should. Also, make sure that you let us know in there. Give us some suggestions of what kind of shows, what you want us to talk about. So give us a topic and we'll look into it. Maybe we'll do it. Thanks, Tyson, for helping make Kimology 411 so awesome.
Thanks, Kim. Like I said, good to see your bright, shiny face again. Hopefully in a week we haven't guess what? I guess I had something after all. I've been taking vitamin C in the last couple of days like it's going out of style.
I've just been in my basement.
I haven't been doing the zinc thing just because I don't know that I have any, but I haven't taken vitamin C. My normal supplementation, being very, very careful, taking vitamin C like it's going out of style the last couple of days after I kind of reminded myself the importance of that. So I think we'll both be okay, but we'll see.
I think so too. All right, guys. Well, we'll talk to you soon. And please make sure to keep taking all of your adventures. Bye-bye.